Noir throughout the world, has spoken across the globe. He is the host of DCM's Noir Alley. He is the founder and president of the Film Noir Foundation, also known as the Czar of Noir. Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie Muller.
Trivia thing. I like this idea, and I also have my own trivia thing that I'm going to be doing, and there's going to be some suspects that I'm going to pull out of the audience and come up here and face ritual humiliation on the stage with me. They're for the second films during the festival. Anyway, thank you, SIFF, very much, and I want to give a big thanks to Casey McGill and his guys who played here. Some clarification on what year this is for Noir City in Seattle. I wasn't really sure. I kind of came up here on the assumption that this was a 9th version of the festival, and now I understand it's actually the 10th. It's actually the 10th. So, wow, that's like a 10th anniversary. So, congratulations. Thank you for having us for these 10 years. And you know, one of the things we like to do at Noir City is kind of have a theme for each year, and this year it is classy A's and trashy B's. Although, trust me, it won't always follow that pattern. You know, we will have some trashy A's and some classy B's for you as well. But one of the reasons I wanted to do that is just because I've sort of, over the years, gotten a little tired with people not quite grasping what B films actually were back in the day. That it is not a pejorative to say, oh, that was such a B film. I mean, a B film is a B film. It was actually created to play the bottom half of a double bill when a night at the movies was always 2 films. And people went expecting to see 2 movies. And every major studio in Hollywood invested most of their money in their A-list titles, which was their big prestige productions, important themes, lofty subjects, Juarez, The Life of Emile Zola, you know, these are all A pictures. And then the B films were generally genre pictures. There would be crime movies, a Western, something made by the B units at these studios for a lot less money and much shorter shooting schedules. But the B movies are very often where up-and-coming artists cut their teeth and prove that they deserve to be given more money and more time to make movies. And you're going to see examples of this throughout the festival. And in terms of the performers, it's where you would catch stars on the way up or on the way down playing in these B films. So it's a lot of fun. We did this in San Francisco, and it just went over like gangbusters recently. So you're going to be in for a real treat with these movies. So obviously, this year we're mixing in some very well-known titles. If you've been coming for years, you know that my specialty is to sort of find the obscure stuff that's slipped under the radar, like the Maltese Falcon. But it's, you know, this is what I've learned doing this. This is my 20th year programming festivals now, and what I have learned is that these things go in cycles, you know, and I don't program for other programmers. I program for audiences, and I enjoy looking out in the audience and seeing a lot of younger people who maybe have not seen the Maltese Falcon. Maybe you have never seen the Maltese Falcon on a big screen. Maybe you've never seen the Maltese Falcon the way it was supposed to be shown, or it was originally shown as the top half of a double bill with another somewhat obscure movie. So for all of those reasons, this is why we have included titles like The Maltese Falcon, The Big Sleep, Mildred Pierce, The Blue Dahlia, touchstones of noir. And it's also important because in the scheme of this year, you are going to take a little excursion through the original movement, what I call the organic artistic movement that was film noir. The Maltese Falcon that you're about to see is the only movie made The only movie I'm showing in this festival that was made before the United States was in World War II. Right? This movie came out in October of 1941, and we had not entered the war yet, so you won't find any references to World War II. After this, you're going to find a lot of them. Every movie is touched by World War II until the war is over, and you're going to see how the war affected the development of film noir in terms of what you see on the screen and in terms of the people who are making the movies, the writers, the directors, in many cases the actors who are in these movies. They're in Hollywood because of the war. So it's a little bit of a history lesson, but I guarantee you it'll be a very entertaining one as well. I say that the Maltese Falcon, to me, symbolically represents the beginning of the film noir era, although it doesn't check off every box that you associate with film noir. It doesn't really look like hardcore film noir, but the attitude of this movie, I think, is essential to the development of noir, and it's very interesting to note that it is adapted so faithfully from the novel, which was written in 1929. So that obviously precedes the noir era, but it is the attitude of its author, Dashiell Hammett, that definitely set the tone for the anti-hero that you would find so commonly in these movies once they were made in the 1940s. And I think that that figure is embodied by Humphrey Bogart so spectacularly in this movie that it really is Bogart's attitude and what he projected to the American public precisely at this time in American history that opened the gates for what we know as film noir. Trust me, all kinds of cinema history gets written and directors get credited for stuff and cinematographers, and it's all about the look. The look did not sell tickets, right? That's not what this was about. It was about the people on the screen. And Humphrey Bogart represented something to the American people that was very new. It was an ambivalence that was not really common in Hollywood at all. It's like, I know the difference between right and wrong, but you know what? I don't really care that much. and Bogart was like, had his own ethics, and he was not a lawman in these movies. He was not representing the side of good. And even though he, will always end up doing the right thing, because that's what he did in these movies, it's his moral turmoil that he goes through that was very, very influential in creating film noir and popularizing it for the American public. And that's why I give Dashiell Hammett, who was himself a private eye and who himself sort of shared these ethics, and the sense of, it's corrupt. I mean, it's just corrupt. I mean, that's the way this works. The cops are corrupt, the DA's corrupt, everybody's corrupt, and what a guy does is just try to navigate this corrupt world as best he can. That's the lesson that Hammett left with us, right? And that is why this movie was so important and so popular at the time. How many people have not, don't be embarrassed, how many people have not seen the Maltese Falcon? Oh, how old are you? 10! Yes! Sleep tonight. Okay. That was great. So I'm very happy that this is your first exposure to what is a classic of not just American cinema, but I think of American culture. So enjoy Humphrey Bogart and Dashiell Hammett's The Maltese Falcon.